Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and the United Rugby Championship returns to your screens this weekend. Two local derbies for South African fans. We've got a North versus South derby as the Stormers travel to Loftus, whilst the Sharks have made the shorter trip up to Johannesburg, and they'll be playing at Emirates Airline Park against a struggling Lions side who've welcomed back a couple of big players from injury, and we look to sort of get their season back on track. Before we look at the two sides, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Both these sides, I wouldn't say under pressure, much more so than the Lions and the Sharks. I think Sharks need to try and find a couple of good results, especially after the fact that they were absolutely decimated by the Stormers just before the break. So yeah, I'd say probably almost in many ways almost under more pressure than the Lions because they're expected to do better. But now, first things first, there are no Springboks available this weekend. So yeah, the Springbok players are still on sort of Springbok break. They should be back from next week. And so if we look at the table, for example, in terms of these two sides, the Lions pretty much out of the reckoning for players. Sitting down in 13th. They've got a game in hand, so a bonus point win, for example, would actually put them tied 11th. And funny enough, if they were to win with the bonus point, they'd actually then put themselves 4 points behind the Sharks, who are actually in 8th place. So the Sharks also sort of teetering on the edge. A win, because they've got a game in hand, a win would put them more comfortably in that top 8. However, a loss, especially if they were to get no points from it, would make them quite vulnerable to potentially losing that 8th spot. So lots to play for both sides. Look at the two sides. Start with the Lions side, and a couple of players back, a couple of players missing. For example, a big player back is Ruan Venter, the man on screen there. He returns the number 7 jersey, a very nice loose trio for the Lions. The first home game for the Lions, I think, in about 5 weeks or so. I think they've only played, I'm not even sure they played it at home this year. But in the front row, JP Smith, PJ Boyce, Asenate, and Clavicania. I thought Asenate and Clavicania is one of the few players who I think went on that sort of overseas leg for the Lions and really stood up and showed what he's all about. And I think that he's taken a massive step forward in his career. I've also been quite impressed with JP Smith. So I think hopefully those two will be able to sort of deal with a rejigged sort of Sharks front row. Obviously no Thomas Tutoy, no Reseko Baditswe and Chair this weekend. In second row, Willem Albert, Ruben Schoeman. Really good to see Ruben Schoeman back, sort of in the enforcer role usually. So two very big, bulky locks there. Maybe not the most mobile across the park, but we'll add a lot of grunt to that tight 5. And that's a very nice loose trio of Jaco Kriel, Ruan Venter, and Emmanuel Tutuka. And I think it's a nice balance. You've got the pace and the breakdown work of Jaco Kriel, the physicality and the aggression of Ruan Venter, and Emmanuel Tutuka, who's a bit of both actually. He's a very physical ball carrier, but also gets around the park. He's very quick. He's got a nice skill set as well. So I think it's quite a nice balanced loose trio. We are still missing the likes of Franco Horn, for example, who still remains sidelined with injury. But Morley van den Berg does start next to Johnny Lombard. No Jordan Hendricks are also dealing with injuries there. Edel van der Merwe, Ralph Bakwana, and Quinn Horn are a very nice back three. But I do worry about the centre pairing of Marius Lowe and Manny Ras. First of all, just in terms of who they're playing against, the likes of Francois Venter and Ryan Jans van Rensburg. I think Marius Lowe has been a very inconsistent player. Maybe this season he's had some really good games and had very nice sort of purple patches. Last couple of games not been quite the same for him. So hopefully he can sort of get his season back on track. And Manny Ras is a player who, yeah, I think it's just struggled. You know, he's had some good moments, but I think, you know, for me personally, I think he sort of struggles at this level. I'm not sure he'll be able to take that next sort of step. But, you know, only time will tell. Off the bench, Michael van Vuuren, Morgan Nordea, Ruan Drea, Springbok capped. Ruan Drea is a nice big addition to that reserve front row. They've gone with a 6-2 split, and I think probably because of the lack of backline players. Ruan Dalpert is set to make his debut for the Lions, and Sibasiso Sangweni, Ruan Charlie completing those 6 forwards. The two backline players, Snella Hamba, who can play at 10 and at 9, will be coming on at in the number 22 jersey, and then Rana Jonker, your utility back as well, in that 23. If we look at the Shark side, as I said, no sort of Springboks, so quite a lot of players missing. But if we look at the front row, Nsuku Ngunu, Dan Jooste, and Carly Sardi, it's still a very good front row. And Carly Sardi up against his former size. JP Smith will have his hands full. Nsuku Ngunu, I think, he's come a long way this season. From a strategy perspective, is going to be well tested by Asenate and Clavicania, who's an absolute unit of a man. In the second row, Reniel Hugo, Gebrand Krobler. I think in many ways, you know, it's pretty much matching the Lions' second row, which you don't often say from a Lions' perspective. But I think, you know, Gebrand Krobler I've been very impressed with. But Reniel Hugo is a nice player, but I don't think there's too much in it between the two locks and the two teams. James Venter, Henke Venter, Pepsi Buthelezi. It's an exciting loose trio, but I think it's a loose trio with things to prove. With aside from Pepsi Buthelezi, you know, I think James Venter, Henke Venter, sort of almost a little bit at risk at sort of falling to the wayside. I think they'll get game time, they'll be rotated in a lot, but certainly not necessarily going to be the stars of the show. Grant Williams, Curran Bosch. Curran Bosch playing some nice rugby, but has sort of shown a little bit of vulnerability. And, you know, whilst he's been playing really good rugby and very good form, I think he's still a player you can rattle a little bit. Grant Williams is going to be the man for me to watch out for from a Lions perspective. Adds so much, pace and speed to the game, and especially in a high felt. We have had a lot of rain this week. There's been floods in Johannesburg, so maybe not the driest, but Ellis Park field should still play pretty well. And should still be pretty decent conditions unless there is more rain this weekend, which is forecasted, but the forecast changes every hour. Thacker Abrahams, Werner Koch up really fast. Good to see Werner Koch back on the side. Rowan Jans from Rensburg, Francois Center in the centres. It's a very scary backline from a attacking point of view. I think Thacker Abrahams, obviously, we know what he can bring. Him and Edel van der Merwe will be looking to create a lot of space and get around there. Up really fast as well, very attack orientated. But for me, that Rowan Jans from Rensburg and Francois Center combination scares me a lot. They've got everything. They've got the pace, they've got the power, they've got the skill set. I think they're going to prove to be quite a handful. Off the bench, present part to Dan Blula and Honra Jacobs. I do think the front row is a place where the Lions might be able to get a bit of ascendancy. I think that front row and the scrum in general has been very good for the Lions. And yeah, I do think that's maybe an area where they might try and target the Sharks. Vince Tuka should be coming off the bench along the likes of Dylan Richardson, Tinkamos and Notche, 6-2 split as well. What 3 players to be able to bring off the bench? I mean, that's an entirely new loose trio if you want to be. Vince Tuka also covering lock, but I mean, a 6, 7, 8 combination of Richardson, Tuka, and Notche would be pretty impressive as well. And then you've got Cameron Wright, Ben Tapawai as your 2 utility backs. The Sharks expect to win, very much so, but the Lions are at home, and it's a couple of nice players in some important positions. Hopefully the Lions can pitch up. For me, I think it's about them really sort of taking hold of the game. I think it's about them dictating the pace of play and playing a bit of fearless rugby. There's nothing to lose, everything to gain. Go and get yourself 2 wins and a bounce. Maybe get yourself into that top 8 and see what happens. I do think there's not going to be enough in the tank for the Lions. But if you go and get back-to-back victories, for example, you go on a bit of a run, you can find yourself in that top 8. Especially if other teams around you do start to drop points. Let me know what your score predictions are down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen, and I'll chat to you soon.